This week for Banned Books Week, I'm doing a virtual readout of Khaled Hosseini's The Kite Runner. The last time it was banned was in 2012 because it depicts a rape in graphic detail and uses vulgar language. I heard the voices again, louder this time, coming from one of the alleys. I crept close to the mouth of the alley, held my breath, peeked around the corner. Hassan was standing at the blind end of the alley in a defiant stance, fists curled, legs slightly apart. Behind him, sitting on piles of scrap and rubble, was the blue kite, my key to Baba's heart. Blocking Hassan's way out of the alley were 3 boys, the same 3 from that day on the hill, the day after Daud Khan's coup, when Hassan had saved us with his slingshot. Wali was standing on one side, Kamal on the other, and in the middle, Asef. I felt my body clench up and something cold rippled up my spine. Asef seemed relaxed, confident. He was twirling his brass knuckles. The other 2 guys shifted nervously on their feet, looking from Asef to Hassan, like they'd cornered some kind of wild animal that only Asef could tame. "Where's your slingshot, Hazara?" Asef said, turning the brass knuckles in his hand. "What was it you said? They'll have to call you One-Eyed Asef?" "That's right, One-Eyed Asef." That was clever. Really clever. Then again, it's easy to be clever when you're holding a loaded weapon. I realized I still hadn't breathed out. I exhaled slowly, quietly. I felt paralyzed. I watched them close in on the boy I'd grown up with, the boy whose hair-lipped face had been my first memory. "But today is your lucky day, Hazara," Asef said. He had his back to me, but I would have bet he was grinning. "I'm in a mood to forgive." "What do you say to that, boys?" "That's generous," Kamal blurted out, "especially after the rude manners he showed us last time." He was trying to sound like Asef, except there was a tremor in his voice. Then I understood. He wasn't afraid of Hassan. Not really. He was afraid because he had no idea what Asef had in mind. Asef waved a dismissive hand. "Forgive him. It's done." His voice dropped a little. "Of course, nothing is free in this world, and my pardon comes with a small price." "That's fair," Kamal said. "Nothing is free," Wally added. "You're lucky, Hazara," Asef said, taking a step toward Hassan, "because today, it's only going to cost you that blue kite. A fair deal, boys, isn't it?" "More than fair," Kamal said. Even from where I was standing, I could see the fear creeping into Hassan's eyes, but he shook his head. "Amir Aga won the tournament, and I ran this kite for him. I ran it fairly. This is his kite." "A loyal Hazara. Loyal as a dog," Asef said. Kamal's laugh was a shrill, nervous sound. "But before you sacrifice yourself for him, think about this. Would you do this? Would he do the same for you? Have you ever wondered why he never includes you in games when he has guests? Why he only plays with you when there's no one else around? I'll tell you why, Hazara. Because to you, you're nothing but an ugly pet. Something he can play with when he's bored. Something he can kick when he's angry. Don't ever fool yourself and think you're something more." "Amir Aga and I are friends," Hassan said. He looked flushed. "Friends?" Asef said, laughing. "You pathetic fool. Someday you'll wake up from your little fantasy and learn just how good of a friend he is. Now, enough of this. Give us that kite." Hassan stooped and picked up a rock. Asef flinched. He began to take a step back, stopped. "Last chance, Hazara." Hassan's answer was to cock the arm that held the rock. "Whatever you wish." Asef unbuttoned his winter coat, took it off, folded it slowly and deliberately. He placed it against the wall. I opened my mouth, almost said something. Almost. The rest of my life might have turned out differently if I had. But I didn't. I just watched. Paralyzed. Asef motioned with his hand, and the other 2 boys separated, forming a half circle, trapping Hassan in the alley. "I've changed my mind," Asef said. "I'm letting you keep the kite, Hazara. I'll let you keep it so it will always remind you of what I'm about to do." Then he charged. Hassan hurled the rock. It struck Asef in the forehead. Asef yelped as he flung himself at Hassan, knocking him to the ground. Wali and Camille followed. I bit my fist, shut my eyes. A havoc of scrap and rubble littered the alley. Worn bicycle tires, bottles with peeled labels, ripped up magazines, yellowed newspapers, all scattered amid a pile of bricks and slabs of cement. A rusted cast iron stove with a gaping hole on its side tilted against a wall. But there were two things amid the garbage that I couldn't stop looking at. One was the blue kite resting against the wall, close to the cast iron stove. The other was Hassan's brown corduroy pants thrown on a heap of eroded bricks. I don't know, Wali said. My father says it's sinful. He sounded unsure, excited, and scared, all at the same time. Hassan lay with his chest pinned to the ground. Kamal and Wali each gripped an arm, twisted and bent at the elbow so that Hassan's hands were pressed to his back. Asef was standing over them, the heel of his snow boots crushing the back of Hassan's neck. Your father won't find out, Asef said, and there's nothing sinful about teaching a lesson to a disrespectful donkey. I don't know, Wali muttered. Suit yourself, Asef said. He turned to Kamal. What about you? Well, it's just a Hazara, Asef said. But Kamal kept looking away. Fine, Asef snapped. All I want you weaklings to do is to hold him down. Can you manage that? Wali and Kamal nodded. They looked relieved. Asef knelt behind Hassan, put his hands on Hassan's hips, and lifted his bare buttocks. He kept one hand on Hassan's back and undid his home belt buckle with his free hand. He unzipped his jeans, dropped his underwear. He positioned himself behind Hassan. Hassan didn't struggle, didn't even whimper. He moved his head slightly, and I caught a glimpse of his face. Saw the resignation in it. It was a look I had seen before. It was the look of the Lamb.